And
Hey, how's it going?
going good. How are you today?
I'm very good. Just finished a show in Portland, so I'm
Oh,
still
awesome.
riding off of that.
How was the show today?
It was good. Nice, good sound. The other band said we sounded good and good crowd. So it's been a long
Amazing.
time since we're back on the West Coast. So
Amazing.
good stuff as
Amazing.
always.
Amazing, Ewan. Amazing. So, Ewan, your next album, Epigone, is scheduled to be released on January 7th. So, can you tell me a bit about the songwriting and production behind this new album?
Yeah, yeah. So interestingly enough, a lot of the songs off of Epigone, Evan had in his back pocket for a long time. Some of them even were written before our first record,
Mhm.
at least like kind of the core skeleton of it. And then it just so happened that at this stage in our career, like our sound is now a little closer to what those songs were. You know, they were like some of them were originally kind of meant to be for potentially a different kind of project, but we were like after Vale, we are kind of sitting around, kind of shooting some ideas back and forth of what kind of material we want to work on next, and so Evan had mentioned these songs, and we were listening to them and thinking like, okay, there's something here, and it's a nice collection. They all work together well, and we're like, okay, what if we just take the bones of these songs and just kind of dress them up how we do things now, and
Yeah.
so it just was a good chance for us all to work a little bit more collaboratively on some pre-written material
Yeah.
that just really it came out nice. I think is one of the things that I um, personally was really excited about. It was the first record where we really decided that, oh, okay, synths are going to be a notable part of the skeleton of this album.
Mhm.
On previous records, Wayne and I had split up the orchestration um, tasks, and I would throw in a couple synth things here and there, more as like a background thing,
Mhm.
to kind of beef up some of the string sections or brass. This record, we're like, okay, well, let's just open the floodgates, so to speak, and just let that be an integral element. So I got to focus entirely on that. Wayne got to focus entirely on the orchestra, and I think that just yielded a very new structure for the way the album's arranged compared to the to previous records. So I'm very excited about that personally.
Wonderful, wonderful, Ewan. And was there any particular concept that was put behind this album?
It kind of goes it goes in a couple different places, but I think the majority of it kind of focuses around kind of the plight of the artist, so to speak. It's we tried to leave the lyrics open enough that it's not too direct, and it's not saying anything that would deprive the listener of their
Mhm.
own interpretation of them. But
Yeah.
they were definitely inspired by us being in a position, and Evan particularly being in a position where the idea of being an artist was very much in question, and like, what does it mean, and how does that play, how what is the relationship between the artist and the audience. um, so a lot of the songs kind of play around with that idea,
Mhm.
um, but there's so much more behind it too, and I don't usually like to go too deep into it. At least,
Yeah.
certainly I didn't write the lyrics personally, so my interpretation of some of them is probably a little different than even Evan's. uh,
Wonderful. Wonderful. And talking about the cover art of Epigon, it's something fascinating in this cover art. So, what was the real idea behind this cover art?
So that the cover art was done by an artist out of New York, I believe, called Kim Kiever.
Mhm.
I stumbled across his artwork on Instagram. Actually, we were just kind of flipping around trying to get ideas for what the cover art could potentially be. We generally have a certain aesthetic that we gravitate towards, and I think based off the past couple of records, there's always a character of color and kind of like wispiness, and I think a lot of Kim Kiever's work that really intrigued me was this idea that it's all cloud tanks. So he drops paint and whatever else into an aquarium full of water and takes photographs of the piece kind of evolving. And I just never even heard of something like that. So I was really fascinated by that concept. And just kind of, to me, there was something about the idea of taking an artistic material like paint and just watching it evolve, that to me, like, kind of spoke to some of the lyrical concepts we were discussing. And so we flipped through a bunch of his work. You know, I mean, it took us months to decide on one. You know, we usually like to find a cover, a pre-existing art that we like, because it's so hard for us to know what really matches the music, and we hesitate to get an artist to make something based off of a vague concept, and then we don't know exactly how it's going to come out. So looking through Kim Kiever's work, it was just like, oh, there's so much to choose from. Which one's the right one? We finally settled on that one.
Wonderful. And talking about this 10-track Epigone, like, it's beautifully arranged music, great orchestration, amazing progression, and totally it's a real journey to go along with the music. So that was my feedback about this new album. So as a band, how do you feel about the outcome?
I feel very good about it personally, and I would say that the rest of the guys do too. I think having the chance for everyone to really inject a bit more of their own personality into the record from an earlier stage of the process really made something special out of this record. Probably the best example of that for me is the core demos of the songs that Evan provided. We had made a point that he would provide them with no drums. It was just purely guitar and something doing the melody. And so we'd sent that to John first, and we're like, okay, John, go just write some drums to it. You know, we're not going to tell you anything. Just write whatever you think sounds good. And he came up with just a bunch of really cool things, and just turned a lot of things. Like, he would hear certain rhythms in a different way that I don't think Evan or I or Wayne would have. And that then in turn yielded certain kind of bass lines for me to work off of that I wouldn't have otherwise thought of, because I now have this totally unique foundation off of John's playing. And it just kind of kept building off of that. So it was a really nice kind of feedback loop for us all to work with. And so for me, I feel most proud about the work that I put into this. I think it's some of my best bass work to date and synth work to date. So I'm very excited for everyone else to hear.
Wonderfully well. And I'm a bit of old school when it comes to music. So when I listen to music, I just listen to the entire album completely. I don't skip tracks. So in that way, when I was listening to Epigone, it was like totally amazing. I cannot skip anything. It's like I cannot stop. It keeps coming into the music, keeps flowing into it. So that was so amazing, and the quality of music is really good. So thank you so much for bringing up an amazing album again, Evan. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And what will be the release date plans for you guys?
Well, a lot of that is very much up in the air right now. I think like the main thing that we're going to be focusing on post release is trying to get back out on the road some more. Mm-hmm. Obviously right now we're on the road with Swallow the Sun and Abigail Williams, which has been fantastic. We're wrapping that up. I think we got 1, 2, 3 more shows now left. So it's been a wild experience driving all across the country, going across the border to Canada, and just seeing a lot of fans that we haven't seen in a long time or even ever. And now we're kind of like, okay, let's push that further. Let's see if we can get, across the Atlantic. Let's see if we can get into Europe or something. Let's see what else we can do in the States. But it's very much up in the air right now. Obviously, given the pandemic situation, it's tough to make hard and fast plans. But there's stuff floating around that I'm excited about.
Wonderful, wonderful. And with the release of the Epigone, you'll be having 4 full-length albums. So how has the journey been for you guys so far?
It's been incredible. I mean, to work with the same handful of guys for nearly 10 years now. I mean, as of next year, it'll be 10 years since we released our first record. So that is a real milestone for us. And the fact that our lineup has remained more or less consistent in that time is really special. I think we're all very good friends at this point, and it's just been cool to experience that in a very healthy and exciting way.
Wonderful, wonderful. And after post-release of Epigone, what would be the touring plans? Do you have any festivals booked for you, or are you going to go on a long travel on the tour? So what's the plan?
Well, we did just recently book a slot on Prague Power US. So we'll be down in Atlanta in June doing our first Prague Power set, which will be very exciting. It's something that I personally have been wanting to even just go to as a fan for ages, and I just haven't made it down. Especially we like in 2020, we were booked for Prague Power Europe, which was going to be our first European debut in the festival circuit, and that unfortunately fell through. So I'm glad that we can at least be part of the American version of that. And I'm hoping that we can get more into the festival circuit in the summertime. That's been a bucket list thing for me.
Wonderful, wonderful. And what would be some of the greatest moments that has happened to you guys in the band the last couple of years?
Greatest moments. I mean, I would certainly say getting signed to Century Media definitely falls up there for me. We've been working at this for so long, and to finally kind of get the recognition and the help that we always needed. We're very a very music forward minded kind of band, so business is not necessarily our strong suit. We try our best, so it's great to have a team of people who that's what they're doing and they're good at it, and they're pushing us out there in places we haven't been heard before. So that's great. Another one for me was the 70,000 tons of metal cruise that we did just before the pandemic hit. So that was a really surreal experience to be playing a set at 4:30 in the morning on this huge stage to hundreds of people. It still feels like some kind of fever dream.
Amazing, amazing. I know the band is all about experimentation, and progressive is all about that. So in the future, do you guys have any plans to do something quite different from what you do currently?
That's funny. I mean, we've been talking a lot about whatever comes next. We've been writing some stuff here and there, and just we're trying to kind of get our footing, because I don't want to say too much. I don't want to promise anything at this stage where it's very much in its infancy. We don't even have one complete song yet, but I think we're all kind of feeling like with Epigone was kind of the pinnacle of that sound of Wilderun, and now we need to really, in order to keep progressing and do something that's not only interesting to us, but I think interesting to other people as well, is to really change the way we do things on a fundamental level and just see what happens. So I think we're going to be taking some time in between touring to just experiment and see what kind of sounds we can come up with, what kind of what excites us. I think right now we're still trying to find what really excites us, but there's some things we're talking about in the band that everyone's kind of like, oh, okay, that's cool. Like, that would be interesting. It might not work, but it sounds cool.
Yeah, wonderful. And any big dreams for the band?
Oh, big dreams. I mean, I think one of my bucket list items for Wilderun has always been to play Wacken. That's
Yeah.
the festival that I've been to once, and it was a completely surreal, amazing experience. And ever since then, I was kind of like, I kind of don't want to go back until we're playing it, you know. So that's kind of, if we can make that happen, I would be very, very excited.
Wonderful, wonderful. And even finally, what would be the message for the fans around the world?
I would say, I mean, obviously, thank you to anyone who's supported us in any way, listened to our music, bought our albums and merchandise. I mean, we would not be where we are without everyone who supported us in that way. And, you know, just everyone be nice to each other, be excited for the future. And I think that good things will come. Stay optimistic.
Awesome, awesome. And even thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to interview you today. It was a real pleasure talking to you. And thanks for the amazing music that you guys been giving over the years. And looking forward for Epigone on January 7th. And I wish you guys all the best in the coming days.
Oh, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate your time and kind words. So I hope everything goes well for you too.
Thank you, Ewan. You have a great night out there. Take care of yourself.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. Yeah, bye-bye.
Take care.
Yeah.
Bye.